Good evening, all. This Miguel, Aleixo from BRIK BC Projects. Hope you're all doing well. Another week, another show. Thank you for joining us. If you're listening to the recording, or if you're joining us live on the Twitter space, the space is being recorded also in video mode to put up on YouTube. So yeah, look, it's what 6 o'clock here in the evening here in Australia. So some parts of the world is just waking up. Some parts are sound asleep. So that's the beauty about a global business. That's yeah, we've got all in different time zones, and yeah, look, we try to accommodate different time zones. We do sort of rotate. So currently in the rotation in terms of it's every sort of 4 months. We try to rotate the time so people can actually have a chance to listen live. As I said, it's always recorded. Our BRIK Q&A show, our weekly show, live show. Yeah, look, at the moment, it's a time that's more friendly for Europe, the UK, Africa, India, and most of Asia, which we are part of. Unfortunately, it is during the night for the US market, for the Canadians, our US friends, also the South American region. But yeah, look, we try to rotate, and we'll I think next month we actually rotate a time around again. So again, just trying to sort of keep consistent, but also allow people to also listen live. Yeah, look at it's just give a couple more minutes for people who are sort of joining us live on Twitter Space. So, but yeah, look, at today's show, BRIK Q&A, we are focusing around in terms of what is the state of the market here in Brisbane and Gold Coast, the two areas where we are tokenizing real estate. So we'll go through in terms of what's happening, some of the drivers, and some examples of the latest sales. So what I've actually done, I've put some pinned some tweets for our discussion today. But probably before we get stuck into the formalities, without being too formal, as most of you know, I like to keep this very informal, but with a little bit of structure around it so we can get through some of the content that I want to cover today. Probably in terms of what's been happening over the last week, there's some great shows that people do, some great content that people do in terms of education, just general education in terms of blockchain, especially around tokenized real estate. I know Mark Fiddleman, shout out to you, sir. You continue to educate and providing great content around tokenized real estate. I was actually listening to one of Mark's YouTube channel shows with his colleague Mark also. So some great discussions there, and also shout out to SDM Markets, Kyle and Herwig, continue to put great content around real assets on the chain, especially around tokenized real estate. Again, thank you for the shout out for your show this week, and return the favor in terms of giving you a shout out and the great work you guys do. Continue to provide education, also continue to provide some great advisory in terms of your other businesses under the SDM Market umbrella. So shout out, and hope you guys are doing well. Probably the latest drama, probably around the Gary Gensler show, the circus that's been happening over in the US, where he was answering some questions in the Senate to be before the Senate over in the US. So again, that was as sad as it is. It was some of the things that you just got to laugh. But anyway, that's just. We won't go too deep. I think it's been covered by our various colleagues on blockchain and various in terms of whether it's YouTube, Twitter. So again, it is a circus. It is a circus in terms of the SEC in the US under the guidance of the great Gary Gensler and his circus. So again, it's yeah, just it's sad because as I said, I think blockchain in general around the world, obviously, we do all seek guidance in terms of what the US does, because obviously, US is always the sort of the front runner. But I guess in terms of what's happening now, with Mr. Gary, it does set a very negative tone in terms of businesses, entrepreneurs in the US, as to whether they will stay in the US in years to come, given the complexities and the non-guidance, firstly, in terms of what's happened in the US. So again, I think we just all band together, and hopefully we'll all move in the right direction as a collective worldwide to making sure that the blockchain technology is continues to move forward and for the greater society. But yeah, look, we'll start the formalities for today's show. As I said, I'm Lewis. I'm the managing director of BRIK projects, and one of the co-founders, along with my other co-founder, Melinda Aleixo. BRIK, we tokenise Australian real estate properties, focusing in Brisbane and Gold Coast as our geographical areas. We basically tokenise, we basically fractionalise a property and make the tokens available to anybody from anywhere in the world to be able to buy property tokens in our various property token series. At the moment, we've got 2 property token series that are live. We've got the BRIK Koala property, which is the Brisbane property, and we've got the Gold Coast property, which is what we call the BRIK Dolphin property. The Dolphin properties has been tokenized on the Ravencoin blockchain. So again, that property, or the 2 properties, are available to anybody to buy property tokens by going onto our website and clicking in the link that takes you to the property tokens platform to be able to subscribe or buy if you have subscribed, or go straight into buying from you if you have an existing account already. So it's all on there to be able to have access to it. So yeah, again, the Koala property, as I said, it's a Brisbane property here in a prestigious state called Hamilton. Again, that's an inner city suburb. The Dolphin property is at Mermaid Beach. So again, that's only just down the road, a few blocks away from the actual beachfront itself. So again, that's a property that will be ready in Q4 this year. So that's a newly built property that's currently on its way to, and that will be finished by the owner, builder, developer in Q4. So the Koala property, Brisbane one, is actually it's already available. It's in terms of it's already a built property, a newly built property from a couple of years ago. So this gives you the current status of those 2 properties. But yeah, they're all active, and people can buy into it. And obviously, hopefully that people continue to come on a journey with us, so we can actually sell all those tokens in those 2 properties, so we can actually settle on the properties and be able to start the journey with our token holders in those properties. So yeah, but so just moving on to the today's topic. It's in terms of what is the state of our current property market here in Brisbane and Gold Coast, as mentioned earlier. So what we're actually having, we continue to have the strong drivers that I continue to talk about in terms of what's driving our property market. We still got a lot of migration from other states. They see our state, especially our Brisbane Gold Coast and what we call Southeast Queensland, in our state of Queensland. They see that as a great place, and from a lifestyle perspective, in terms of great weather, great opportunities. And so again, some people do come up for holidays to our areas, and a lot of them do actually have that sort of on the bucket list that they'd like to move to Brisbane Gold Coast or the Sunshine Coast. But I guess in terms of what happened with COVID, is sort of make people to actually make those decisions and be able to move up here and basically continue their lives in an exciting and better lifestyle, as we like to know that it is a better lifestyle than some of the states down south. So we still continue to have interstate migration, which has been a great driver in terms of what's been happening in that property market, especially over the last 3 years. We're also seeing migration from overseas. So our foreign department continues to improve the whole process in terms of whether it be visas, business visas, whether it be in terms of people coming here to live, and so basically one of the bottlenecks has been actually our foreign affairs be able to process migration papers quicker than the people that are applying for it. So given our labour shortages in terms of that we've experienced due to these projects that are currently happening, in terms of whether it be commercial and residential projects, as well as some infrastructure projects, we have got a labour shortage, so which obviously is causing quite a shortages in housing. It was a mouthful. Shortages in housing, which it's basically again it's an issue. It's obviously, but at the same time it's also an opportunity. So again, that's overseas migration is also one of the drivers that's causing, in terms of our property market, to continue to go strong. We've obviously got 2032 Olympics here in Brisbane, which will take in Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast in some of the event areas. We really haven't seen much of that as yet. Obviously, we got some of the infrastructure projects that have been planned out for, but in terms of having an impact right here, right now on property values, it's not impacting it. We will see probably around 3 years out. So I think once we come sort of to 2028, 29, we will see obviously that kick into turbo mode in terms of the property values, given the impact leading up to the Olympics. But for now, we actually haven't really seen that has an impact as a driver. Alternates coming. but yeah, look, it's sort of just to give you a bit of in terms of what's happening from those economic drivers, in terms of that impacts our property market. In terms of if we have a sort of lower to mid end of the market, our property market, obviously with interest rates, it has actually stabilized in terms of the increase in values in that sort of end of the market. So in terms of first home buyers, in terms of affordability to be able to, people buying their homes, especially that's first home buyers or even second properties, it has sort of paused in terms of the values. But an area that we do focus on in terms of, from our perspective, in tokenizing real estate, our focus is around luxury property, so that mid to high end of the market. So what some more the high end in terms of luxury properties, that's the area that we focus on, and that area continues to be strong in terms of, again, with the state migration, and people are coming here with obviously what we call sudden money, which in terms of their property markets have always been more ahead in terms of values compared to ours. So they're bringing that money into our market here. So that area continues to be pretty strong. And what I've actually done, I've actually pinned some in terms of what the some of the industry that are at the front line in terms of what they're saying, and I've just sort of pinned some of the posts. Within each post, there's a few articles there that you can read in your own time there. So in terms of Brisbane, what some of the frontliners have been saying, and again, some of the things are consistent to some of the points I've been making, and also Gold Coast in terms of what's been happening there, from what some of the people at the front line are saying, whether it be agents, whether it be in terms of people that are advising on property. So there's those general points as to what's actually happening. What I've actually done, I've also sort of picked out some of the properties. I've picked out 3 properties as examples that have sold recently in the last sort of 3-4 months here in Brisbane, and also I've picked out 2 of the Gold Coast. Probably the ones for Brisbane, if I probably just we'll just go through some of those examples. As I said, they have been pinned the pinned tweets here, which I'll also make that available on YouTube as links to these posts. So what I've done, I've got one, the 3 properties for the Brisbane, and then there's 2 properties for the Gold Coast, and then just basically all those into a slideshow that sort of takes you through the slideshow. But in terms of the Brisbane one, probably the one. So basically, I've taken a shot of the actual property. So, and then basically giving you what it means from a US dollars perspective, because we always like to talk in US dollars, because in terms of all our tokens and all in terms of when we talk about returns and so forth, we always talk in US dollars as sort of a central point of currency for everybody to understand around the world. So you'll see that the first property there, that this one here sold in this is the Brisbane one, sold in for 7.27 mil, and that one there was at Eldonell Terrace at Hamilton. So again, these properties are all very much neighbours, within 3 or 4 blocks from the Koala property. So this one here at Eldonell Terrace at Hamilton, it sold for $7.27 million Australian. So again, I'll put this into US dollars. So that property there sold for 4.89 mil US dollars. That property around 2 years ago. So that was actually a new built a few years ago. So that property, just after it was built, it was sold 2 years ago. Around 2 years ago, it was sold for $4.14 million. So again, that's had an increase of $750,000 US. So that's gone up 18%. So yeah, so in a short period of time, and given all the things I've been saying about what's been driving our property market, that's very much in terms of what's been happening. That's probably on the low end, given some of the other properties in the area in terms of how much they've been selling for. And I've also got the Australian dollars on that slide there, but again, I'll only sort of talk about in terms of US dollars. The second property that I've got on there is a property at Hillside Crescent at Hamilton. Again, this one's only down the road from the Koala property. That one there again went for 3.39 mil Australian. So that's on the slide on the picture there that you can see. Sold in February 2023. So that property there in US dollars sold for 2.28 mil. Around 2 years ago, that property, you would have bought that property for around 1.81 mil. So again, that had an increase of $470,000 US, an increase of 26%. So again, it's quite a nice increase in value. So great outcome for that person that did sell it and was able to cash in and make a 26% return within those 2 years. So that was the third one we got here. The third one is actually a directly neighbour of the Koala property. So that one there is at Ludlow Street. So that actually sold in March. Just gone, March 2023. It's sold for again on the picture there, it shows 6.4. That's Australian, but if I say this in US dollars, so it's sold for 4.3 mil. That property there was actually just a newly built property, just finished in March, and that one there was. You would have bought that property for around 3 mil. Again, some of the properties that have been sold around 2 years ago, that would have been sold for 3 mil. So again, increase of 1.3 mil US. So that's a 43% return on that. So that one there, that was actually built by a builder that's actually just recently, probably around 3 years ago. He finished and actually sold. A house down the road called the Noya. It's a black house that fetched around, from memory, it was around 7.5 mil US that it sold for. So this one here at Ludlow Street that we're looking at, the one beside it, it's a white house, and the one that sold is the black house. So he actually bought that block of land and basically subdivided and built those 2 properties. So that one there, the white one actually sold. He sold it off the plan. Actually, it sold probably around 18 months ago from memory. But this one here, the other one, the last one, the black one, so that's sold for 4.3 mil, and making him a nice little profit there. So again, just sort of the examples of these properties that have been sold. So he's an award-winning builder developer that's won awards for the Noya property, and no doubt he'll put those up for the awards this year for the Master Builders Awards. So again, it's a beautiful property as well. But that's sort of the wrap up in Brisbane, those 3 properties. Now, if we sort of we jump across to the Gold Coast again, I've also got the slide there, the post that shows you the 2 properties that I've picked out that are recently been sold. So there was this one, Sunbright Avenue at Mermaid Beach, again just down the road from the Dolphin property. That one there sold February 2023 for again in terms of the shot there shows 4.275 mil in Australian dollars, but if I now sort of state it into US dollars as an overview of this property, so this one sold for 2.88 mil US. That property you'd have bought that property 2.01 mil around 2 years ago. Again, that's at an increase of $870,000 US, so an increase of 43%. So properties around this area, Mermaid Beach, even just in the last 12 months, they've sort of been going up sort of 32%, 36% in some of the examples we've been seeing in Mermaid Beach. So again, it's a nice earner for that person that bought it 2 years ago and sold it for a nice increase in value. So and lastly, this one here is the one at Dolphin Avenue. So again, this one here, it's sold. Actually, this was sold December 2022, so around 5 months ago. So that's sold again, showing 2.465 mil. So in terms of Australian dollars, but if now sort of stated back in US dollars again, so that's sold for 1.66 mil US. 2 years ago, that was a $1.21 million property. So again, it's had an increase of $450,000 US in just those around the 2-year mark in 2 years. So that's a 37% increase in value. So again, that's a nice earner for that person that sold the property. So again, this just gives you a snapshot in terms of what's happening with the property here. These are the properties we continue to focus on in terms of luxury real estate properties, single family homes that basically that we tokenize. So again, the continued trend in terms of the increase in values in that luxury space continues to be strong, and no doubt in terms of as things settle down more here, in terms of addressing the labour shortages and also the housing shortages, no doubt will continue to be strong in terms of particularly the properties that we're tokenizing in that luxury space. So yeah, so that's what gives you a bit of a snapshot what's happening. Again, if there's any questions, please DM me. Again, this show is all about in terms of people be able to ask questions live if they want to come on live and ask questions. And but yeah, and I'm just trying to think though if there was any, questions during the week that I might have gotten. Not in relation to the properties. No questions during the week. Probably as I wrap up, in terms of with our second show that I do host, well, this one is all focusing about BRIK BC. The BRIK Q&A show is all about us. The second show I host weekly is just general education and awareness in terms of different people about what is real estate tokenization. So that also is hosted on Twitter Space, and so that one's actually we're actually back on the first week of May. We're just having a break at the moment. So tomorrow there'll be a replay of one of the ones that we thought it was another great BRIK Q&A, not BRIK Q&A. what is token, what is real estate tokenization. So we will put a recording of one of those that on tomorrow. So, but yeah, we're back on back in May, the first week of May, with the live show of what is real estate tokenization, and we'll keep inviting some great guests as speakers to contribute to the conversation. And again, it's always open. It's always open mics. People can come on and contribute their views towards the topic that we put up each week. So again, those ones are back on the first week of May. But yeah, I think that's all I got for today. Thank you for listening. Take care. Same time, same place next week. Bye for now.